Good early morning, everybody. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. It's December 16, 2023. It's 12:50 a.m. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome, newcomers. Welcome to my channel. I've been in the process of copying files to a new hard drive. So it's been taking me a little bit long today, and I haven't been recording any videos, but I wanted to record something really important here. I'm going to probably do an entirely other video on this topic alone when I have more information. And I will be providing the names of all of the individuals who are involved in what is called theft by deception. So anyway, before I get started, please hit the thumbs up. I've got a couple of topics to discuss. We're going to do a Q&A. But I want to talk about theft by deception. There is not only the federal code, but each state has its own code and penalties associated with theft by deception. First, we're going to discuss theft by deception as a federal and state. It's called deceptology. Okay? Theft by deception is a felony under state and federal law. The maximum punishment by a federal theft by deception is 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. The maximum punishment for a state theft by deception charges varies by state, but is typically 5 to 10 years in prison. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. I've got a couple of tabs open here. I've got a very slow laptop because I'm copying folders and files to a hard drive. Theft by deception. What is it? Theft by deception is a felony under state and federal law. The maximum punishment for a state theft by deception charge varies by state, but it's typically 5 to 10 years in prison. People who lie about illnesses or engage in other forms of deception can face theft by deception charges. Theft by deception refers to taking another person's property for the purpose of stealing it. In this type of theft, the victim is reliant on the thief's lies when giving him or her money or property. If you are convicted of theft by deception on your record, you will face difficulties in finding work. The cases could be prosecuted by federal authorities, and as a result, the federal government frequently imposes harsher penalties on the state level. Theft by deception is a misdemeanor or a felony in most cases, depending on the value of the property involved. This offense is considered a misdemeanor because of if the value is less than $200. Municipal court charges could be the most appropriate classification of offense. The law considers it a crime to engage in deception for financial gain, although the term has been changed. In accordance with the Theft Act of 1968, obtaining property by deception and obtaining pecuniary advantage through deception are both crimes. This is what I'm talking about. As stated in Section 15(4) of the Theft Act of 1968, any deception is defined as any action, whether deliberate or reckless, by words or conduct intended to fact or law, including a deception to the intended uses of the deception or any other person. A person who commits property fraud by obtaining property from another with the intent to permanently deprive it of its original possession faces 10 years in prison if he or she is convicted on indictment. So what's the definition of theft by deception? Theft by deception is a type of theft that occurs when a person obtains property by deceiving the owner into believing that the person is entitled to the property or that the person will use the property in a lawful manner. Tumulty presented a woman accused of murder in New Jersey, New Jersey, in a murder trial. A theft by deception is defined as the act of stealing from another person in order to conceal the truth. The most common method of committing theft by deception involves knowingly using a forged, revoked, stolen, or canceled credit card. A New Jersey theft by deception charge carries a different set of penalties for each dollar amount of stolen goods or services. So if you're charged with a crime, you really should consult with a criminal defense attorney. Over the years, John Tumulty has worked to defend theft cases in New Jersey for clients. Obviously, I'm reading from his website. So theft by deception may be a Class B felony under the law. Theft by deception has the potential to put the perpetrator in prison and result in a fine. A person who commits theft by deception should be aware that this is a serious offense and should take precautions to avoid doing so. The deceptive mind. Despite the fact that deception is not a crime itself, it can play a role in other crimes, such as theft, and in some cases it can be used as an additional charge in a criminal case such as identity theft. Is deception a form of theft? When someone intentionally obtains or withholds another person's property by deception, this is a type of theft crime. So theft in Pennsylvania is graded on a scale of 1 to 5 based upon the value of the property taken. Potential employers will easily see any type of theft charge on your criminal record. Businesses are wary of hiring someone who may steal from them. So when people are duped or defrauded, it is common for them to be unaware of their surroundings and unable to protect themselves. This would sort of be like hiring a legal land surveyor to survey your property, provide you with the dimensions, the acreage, and then turn around and falsify the final plot. Or eliminate the acreage on a couple of the deeds. While it's important to exercise caution when it comes to theft by deception and fraud, you can also protect yourself and your possessions by becoming aware of the signs. The dangers of deception. When someone commits deception, they concealed the truth from the person they are communicating with. People may believe things that are not true because they believe them. This type of behavior is regarded as a serious crime. A criminal offense is a deception. This indicates that the deceiver is trying to persuade a person to do something that's not true. It can be a serious problem if it causes people to be hurt or lose money. You must understand the laws pertaining to deception in order to avoid becoming a victim of it. There is no danger for you becoming entangled in it. It's critical that you understand your legal rights and consult with a lawyer if you've been accused of deception. Then they go into deception in a couple of other states, in Nebraska. What are the key elements? The offense can result in a 5-year prison sentence, up to $10,000 or both. It's possible for the defendant to be ordered to make restitution to the victim. If the intent is to deceive, that is the main component of the offense. The defendant's only intent was to take the property for himself without permission of the owner. As a result, the defendant would not have misled the property owner about their legal right to the land. If a defendant is found guilty of theft by deception, he must have knowingly lied to the victim about his or her property rights. For example, if the defendant made the false claim that the victim had the right to keep a property, he could face theft by deception charges. Theft by deception is one of the most serious offenses that can result in severe penalties. When you're accused of a crime, you should consult with an experienced criminal defense lawyer. So it talks about Georgia and other cases. Now we're going to go to... So this is just one portion of it. Here in Kentucky, the law is Kentucky, it's KRS, section 514.040. So here in Kentucky, as in most states, theft charges are divided into several different and specific categories. The details of what is stolen, how much it's worth, who stole it, and how it was actually stolen will all be used to determine what type of theft charge or charges may be made against someone. One of the more common charges brought up in Kentucky criminal courts is theft by deception. Theft by deception, as the name implies, involves stealing something by using some sort of deception, tricking someone in order to get something. It is what most people would commonly think of as fraud. It's specifically defined under Kentucky law and carries its own specific penalties. Depending on the circumstances of the crime, someone may be charged solely with theft by deception, or it may be one of several charges filed to cover an act that violates more than just one law. The definition of theft by deception under Kentucky law is laid out in Kentucky Revised Statutes, Section 514, theft by deception, specifically defined in KRS, Section 514.040. The base definition reads, quote, "A person is guilty of theft by deception when the person obtains property or services of another by deception with intent to deprive the person thereof." It then goes on to list several different circumstances that are considered to be deceptive by the law, including 1. Creating false impressions of value or intention. 2. Withholding information that could affect judgment. 3. Failing to correct a false impression that has been created. 4. Issuing a check or similar payment order knowing that it will not be honored. Kentucky 514.040 also specifically includes writing bad checks for similar payment instruments to pay state taxes or child support within the definition of theft by deception. So the penalties for theft by deception here in Kentucky is a Class A misdemeanor, a Class D felony, or a Class C felony, depending on the circumstances or the individual cases. There is the possible sentencing options for conviction will therefore vary quite a bit. KRS 514.040 also sets the limits regarding which of the 3 types of charges will be filed. If the value of the property or bad payment is less than $500, it will be Class A misdemeanor. If the value falls between $500 and $10,000, it will be charged as a Class D felony. If the value of property or payment is more than $10,000, it will be charged as a Class C felony. A conviction of any of them in the state of Kentucky can result in fines and jail time. Okay, so we're going to fast forward to that. Property of more than $10,000. Someone charged with theft by deception as a Class C felony could face 5 to 10 years in prison if convicted. In addition to the base penalties listed above, conviction felonies will lose some rights, such as the right to own a firearm. Someone with a previous felony conviction will also become what the law describes as a persistent felony offender and can receive harsher sentences for the same crime. So that's one of them. Now this is from Cornell law. This is the federal law. And the reason I'm reading all of this to you guys is because this has happened to every targeted person. But I will have more information next week. But my land surveyor, I believe, has engaged in theft by deception, along with a couple of neighbors and a couple of other people whose names I won't mention right now. I need to get a lot more information. I'll have more next week. And I will make sure that it's all made public. Okay, so from Cornell Law, 18 U.S. Code Chapter 31, embezzlement and theft. Embezzlement and theft it's considered to be. So here we go. Here's the list. Public money, property, or records, tools and materials for counterfeiting purposes, accounting generally for public money, banker receiving unauthorized deposit, court officers depositing registry money, receiving a loan from a court officer. Let me just scroll down here. Theft by a bank examiner, theft, embezzlement, or misapplication by bank officer or employee, property mortgaged or pledged to farm credit agencies, interstate foreign shipments by carrier state prosecutions, theft or embezzlement from employee benefit plan, theft or embezzlement from employment training funds, theft or bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds. How about that? Theft of livestock. Isn't that interesting? A theft or embezzlement in connection with health care. Theft of medical products. Okay, let's click on theft or bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds. Oh, how appropriate, guys. I'm not going to make this up. It's 18 U.S. Code, Section 666. Here you go. I'm going to show you. So you believe this. That is Section 18, Code 666. Theft or bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds. I'm going to say that could be applying for federal funds, you know, your local government, and using it to gang stalk or harass innocent people for profit. Whoever of the circumstance described in subsection B of this section exists, being an agent or an organization of a state, local, or Indian tribal government or any agency thereof, embezzles, steals, obtains by fraud, or otherwise without authority knowingly converts to the use of any person other than the rightful owner, or intentionally misapplies property that is valued at $5,000 or more and is owned by or under the care, custody, or control of such organization, government, or agency, or B, corruptly solicits or demands for the benefit of any person or accepts or agrees to accept anything of value from any person intending to be influenced or rewarded in connection with any business transaction or series of transactions of such an organization, government, or agency involved in anything of value, $5,000 or more, or 2, corruptly gives, offers, or agrees to give anything of value to any person with intent to influence or reward an agent of an organization of the state, local, or Indian tribal government, or any agency thereof in connection with any business, transaction, or series of transactions of such organizations, government, or agency involving anything of value of $5,000 or more shall be fined under this title, imprisoned for not more than 10 years or both. So I'm just going to paraphrase that. Okay, so this is a form of theft by deception. They're considering it theft or bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds. So who receives federal funding? Okay, so the Department of Justice doles out funding for the COPS program, the Citizens on Patrol. Okay, that is funneled into city and state and local agencies. So what if they utilize that money to steal, right, to steal from any person other than the rightful owner, misapplies that money or property, and that money or property is valued at $5,000 or more, they could be fined because they're using it corruptly. They're using it corruptly for the benefit of any person who is complicit, who accepts and agrees to accept anything of value from any person intending to be influenced or rewarded in connection with the business transaction or series of transactions of such organization, government, agency involving anything of value of $5,000 or more. This applies to all of your neighbors, your community-based agents, the private contractors. When they're stealing from you, they are being paid. They're being paid or bribed or coerced with the use of some federal funding and utilizing that federal funding for the benefit of other people who agree to accept corruptly things that are of value that belong to someone else with the intent to influence or reward an agent, right? The handlers, right? The handlers. The circumstance referred to in subsection A of this section is that the organization, government, or agencies receive in any 1 year period. Oh, this is easy, guys. In any 1 year period, benefits in excess of $10,000 under a federal program involving a grant, contract, subsidy, loan, guarantee, insurance, or other form of federal assistance. This section does not apply to a bona fide salary, wages, or fees, or compensation paid that is reimbursed in the usual course of business. So now I'm going to paraphrase that. When people receive a salary and wages or fees or compensation in course of general business, that is reportable to the IRS, which means that you pay taxes on it. Okay? So that would not apply to this theft by deception, where they're receiving federal grants, contracts, insurance, or other form of federal assistance, and they're giving this money to reward an agent or organization of a state or local person valued at $5,000 or more shall be fined under this title, imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. The term local means pertaining to a political subdivision within a state. The term state includes a state in the United States. The term in any 1 year period means a continuous period that commences no earlier than 12 months before the commission of the offense, or that ends no later than 12 months after the commission of the offense. Such period may include time both before and after the commission of the offense. The term agent means a person authorized to act on behalf of another person or a government, and, in the case of an organization or government, includes a servant, sort of like one of those public servants, or employee, and a partner, a director, an officer, a manager, or representative. So that would include everybody who works at the sheriff's department, all police officers, those are servants, anybody that works at the clerk's office, the county clerk's office, that would include any judge, that would include any mayor, that would include a governor, it would include their employees, partners, directors, officers, managers, representatives. That would involve anybody that works at the Fusion Center that is involved, the community-based agent, the Fusion Center operatives, anybody that works for the government, or any public servant or employee or partner, director, officer, manager, and representative. So this comes directly from Legal Information Institute. I'll post the link in the comments section. So that's a little bit on theft by deception. Deceptology. It's 18 U.S. Code Chapter 31. And yeah, it doesn't get better than this, folks. 18 U.S. Code 666. Theft or bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds. Okay. So now we're going to get on to the next topic of the day. Q&A. Oh, yes, it's a secret. It's a big secret, folks. Who's targets? Me, you, everyone. They target you for land, neuro rights. They target women, animals, pets, kids, intellectual property, men. Me, you, everyone are targets. Okay, so there was a question that was posed on Quora. And we've all heard this before, folks, but I love to read other people's responses. So what is gangstalking and who's behind this? Gangstalking is an unchecked, undemocratic method of social control waged by police, community watch groups, security, and private intelligence contractors. It is a quote-unquote program designed to drive a person to suicide, institutionalization, or incarceration. Their tactics are straight out of counterintelligence psychological operation manuals and are against the law, but they are extremely difficult to prove. Yeah, that's what they say. A lot of people I know can prove it. I can certainly prove it. Gangstalkers operate as organized criminals using illegal, unwarranted, and unethical tactics. They often employ actual criminals to follow and harass their victims in exchange for gift cards. Can you imagine anything more irresponsible? In 2008, the ACLU said the following: if the federal government announced it was creating a new domestic intelligence agency made up of over 800,000 operatives dispersed throughout every American city and town, filing reports on even the most common everyday behaviors, Americans would revolt. However, this is exactly what the government and community policing, quote-unquote, organizations are doing. There is a hidden domestic war being waged on our rights to privacy, free speech, association, and assembly. The war on terror, quote-unquote, is just another avenue for the vast and unaccountable police state infrastructure to harass innocent victims without repercussions. The Patriot Act has allowed a lot of inappropriate targeting. These perpetrators use the Patriot Act as an excuse to harass and monitor people by falsely claiming they are potential terrorists. I don't know if that's going to be picked up by TheTube. These group stalking campaigns have resulted in mass shootings. After a violent incident occurs and saturates the mainstream media, the perpetrators present an official, quote-unquote, inaccurate narrative to cover up their part in causing a victim to lose his mind and shoot up a casino, for example. The target of their harassment is often no longer around to explain what drove them to commit such an extreme act. And even if they survive, it's unlikely their accusations would be taken seriously anyway. There are police officers, firemen, community watch groups, and other quote-unquote pillars of the community who take part and are complicit in this program of harassment. Apparently, they don't believe the law applies to them, and that they have the right to subvert due process and become judge, jury, and executioner. I believe many actually see themselves as good people who are working to protect their community. But I'm reminded of the atrocities and unchecked torture which took place at Abu Ghraib prison. The actions of those prison guards were excusable, though, right? After all, wasn't their goal to prevent another terror attack? While protecting our country was probably their original motivation, the guards went overboard and took advantage of the control they were allowed. Some even appear to derive a perverse pleasure from abusing their captives as evidence by them posing for photographs next to their victims wearing big smiles on their faces. Gangstalking attracts the same type of voyeuristic and sadistic bullies. There's a good movie on Amazon Prime about the torture that took place at Abu Ghraib, I'm not pronouncing it right, Ghraib prison, and the attempted cover-up that followed it. It's called The Report, quote-unquote, starring Adam Driver. It documents the relentless FBI agent who refused to give up in his attempt to expose what went on there. It's also a good source of motivation for targeted individuals. If you think you're currently a victim of this type of harassment, document it. Buy a few small cameras and place them around your property, your apartment, in your car, or wherever you expect you might capture a photo or video of a gang stalker. I'd recommend making the cameras as hidden as possible. If you succeed in recording them in the act, they may actually be held accountable for their actions in a court of law. I would recommend avoiding calling the police, psychologists or psychiatrists, or any hotline claiming to support targeted individuals. In most cases, these people are not your allies. Also, be careful who you engage with online. And don't become too deeply conversational with anyone who talks about directed energy weapons, aliens, UFOs, lizard people, or any other nonsense. They're probably trying to drag you down the rabbit hole with them or even maybe perpetrators themselves. So this was written a year ago. It received 204 upvotes. And the woman, her name is Wendy. So the question was, what is gang stalking and who is behind this? So I hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to your questions and comments. Oh, but you know what? It's a big secret. What do you mean you can't prove it? Oh my goodness. Can I prove that my land surveyor, who I paid thousands of dollars to, falsified a land survey? I sure can. Can I prove that my neighbors have trespassed my property, damaged my property, threatened and harassed workers on my property? I sure as hell can. Can I prove that their dogs ran wild down the county road with no tags at large? Oh, I certainly can. Can I prove that when I drive into town, there are gangs of cars following me and one or two hiding out behind billboard signs? Oh, yes, I can. Or how about the fact that every time I go to the sheriff's office, whether it's to pay taxes, inquiring about anything, there's nobody in there except the two nice women behind the counter. But as soon as I walk in, a deputy, a sheriff, one of the badge abusers, shows up and sits down and listens to everything I'm saying. That's right, folks. Listen, we're no dummies in this, and these people think that we're stupid. They're barking up the wrong tree, and we're just going to keep exposing their atrocities. I know I am. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I don't know if you can enjoy this, but I'm going to post some information on theft by deception, because it not only applies to like real property, like land property, but it applies to the purchase of items. If you're purchasing items that are valued, at more than $500, more than $10,000, more than $5,000, there are various degrees of this. And just because you're targeted doesn't mean that you cannot prove that you have been harmed by this law. So anyway, please look into this. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. I'm going to sign off for now. Please hit the thumbs up. Combat the cyberstalkers. And I just wanted to also say, for the last few days, it has been so quiet around here. It's almost like all my neighbors dropped dead or something. There are not very many cars driving back and forth. Although yesterday morning, I walked out to check on my cats. This was literally just after 2 a.m. And as soon as I walk from my front door to the front door of my cat's building, which is about 30 feet, as soon as I touched that front door of their building, a car drove by. 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock in the morning. Yep. So anyway, your tax dollars are hard at work, folks. And I want to give also a shout out to Patrick Humphrey. He's got a great channel exposing the truth of everything that's happening. There are a lot of YouTube creators now that are waking up to this targeting issue and exposing it. He was also discussing in one of his recent videos about what's going on up there in the sky. And some people were recently posting videos of different colors up there. Now, you know that I usually see like the stripes and the zigzags and the check marks and the X's and stuff, and they're usually white. But some people have been reporting seeing pink skies. I listened to a video by Tony, I don't know if I'm going to get this spelled, Tony Pantalleresco. He's got a YouTube channel, not under his name. Something about herbs. I'd have to look it up again. I just found it. And in one of his videos that I stumbled across and listened to it, he was talking about detoxing from the nano and the biofilm and stuff. And there was just this one short little thing where he talked about what the pink skies are. Does anybody have a guess? I'm not going to say the word, I'm going to spell it for you. Lithium. So if you've seen a pink sky, please leave a comment down below. Tell me what state you're in when you saw it. I'm curious. Curious minds want to know. Signing off for now.